Political parties have been put forward ahead of this year's elections. All parties had until 5 o'clock today to pay their deposits and submit their candidate list to the Independent Electoral Commission, the IEC, depending on how many seats in Parliament a party gets. The chairs are filled by the people on these lists, basically from top to bottom, so you have a higher likelihood if you're at the top. The ANC has been finalising this list until the 11th hour, and the SABC can confirm that some controversial names are included to become MPs. These include Ministers Bathabilie, Dlamini and Nomvula Mokonyane, and former Ministers Malusi, Gigaba and Mosebenzi, Zwane. To discuss, we're joined by political analyst Professor Lesiba Teffo from UNISA. He's with us from our Pretoria studios. Thank you for being with us, Lesiba. So let's look at this. Nomvula Mokonyane, accused recently of taking bribes from Bosasa. She's at number 10. Are you surprised at the list put forward?
Surprised, and also not surprised at the same time. You see, one would have been surprised had the ANC been consistent based on the very seminal document that they had and they still have, called Through the Eye of the Needle. That prescribes exactly the character, the caliber of the people who should represent the ANC in government across the 3 tiers. But they've never lived up to that. And then they went to Bloemfontein, right? And they re-emphasized the need to have men and women of integrity, people of probity, people whose at least standing in the community would engender some confidence. Thirdly, and lastly, there was Nasrec. They still reaffirmed what they think would be the appropriate people. And they said unequivocally that should any be found to be wanting one way or another, have a cloud hanging over him, he or she would be advised to step aside. Did they live up to that? No, no, no.
Well, the party has said there has been some sort of sifting process and people with serious court findings have been removed. Now, this means the fact that Bathabilie Dlamini was found to have lied by members of the highest court in the land after the social grant saga, they're not even seeing that as a serious court finding.
Well, perjury is a criminal offense in our land. But I don't want to talk legalese here. I'm just saying in terms of moral standing, forget about the law. They are presumed innocent until found guilty. But I think the type of society we want to craft, we want to develop, is such that whoever stands up there should engender some confidence and be worthy of emulation, especially by our children. But if the ANC says they want to be technical, they want to be legalistic about it, then they must forget about talking about morality. And indeed, they must forget about taking the lead as far as other things are concerned.
Do they have any standing to say that you are innocent until proven guilty, that the State Capture Commission still has to do its work? I mean, we have seen people living with a cloud and then they are cleared.
Well, the State Capture still has to do its work. We granted that. And I'm one of those who are opposed to parallel processes. But where there is evidence that supplement the long-going investigations that you and I know about, and which deliberately had to be dragged on because of political interference. Now the climate is conducive. There are men and women of integrity assigned to do the job. And even the whistleblowers have some confidence now to come out. I would say those that can be brought to book now, let us not wait for tomorrow.
Yeah. If state capture is real, though, and this is a debate that the country's been having, then the prosecution authority has most likely been involved, and that's the reason why people have not gone to jail, have not been prosecuted quickly. There's now the issue of resources. Under those circumstances, do you think, which you are alluding to, that the party should have come up with a way to sift and say if you've got a cloud, you're excluded, or come up with a very strict criteria, not just looking at the courts of law?
Yes, it behoves the party to do the right thing. especially a party with the history the ANC has. But they didn't do much because of the factions, that's number one. But I'm also sympathetic to them to the extent that the history of the liberation movement that I know of tells me that after 20 years, a liberation movement stays on by hook or by crook. And you have seen the erosion of the moral integrity and the respect that ANC enjoyed years, waning, especially in the past 10 years. And on that basis, therefore, either you try to do the right thing and lose one faction, or you do the right thing and threaten losing power or office yourself. Ramaphosa has done well up to this point. But the greatest opposition to his leadership comes from within. And either way he tries to deal with the situation, he's bound to lose. I'm saying he should have, at least when he reshuffled his cabinet, send a strong message and risk losing support. But if he had done that, I think the people on the ground, even some in the party, would have been emboldened to support him.
But couldn't there be a major breakaway? It seems like the strategy is to keep the peace and avoid a breakaway under his leadership.
At what cost? At what cost? Because I think the pushback and the fight back strategy seem to be gaining traction. I hear people say he will show his colors, he will nail his colors to the mast after the election if he gets a strong mandate. But I'm arguing that he should have taken certain steps to suggest to us and to send a signal to the delinquents that I am not going to put up with this. But I have a sense that as they gain traction and they get confidence that they can take him on, he will be threatened by the fact that he might be recalled. And I don't see him, with due respect, not dealing with Mokonyane, not dealing with Bathabilie, Dlamini, Mosebenzi, Zwane, and them, precisely because they are perceived to belong to a certain faction, and he wouldn't want to alienate that faction. So he will have to play, this game. They call it a long game, but it is to his detriment and to the legacy some thought he would build, and indeed to the detriment of the ANC itself.
Well, the party has said, let's just clarify, that some people on the list have been removed. There's been some sort of sifting process, and people with serious crimes on their record were taken away, and people with less serious crimes, offences that were on their record had to come and stand before the top 6. But then isn't it a bit of a strange scenario that you have people with traffic offences who could have been excluded by the top 6? But people involved potentially, allegedly in state capture are included. How do you think the electorate will see this?
Look, in my language they would say there are people of lesser blood, okay? Or in the language of George Orwell, some animals are more equal than others. I heard my president say in Limpopo, well done guys, you got rid of the mayors who've invested in VBS. But I don't hear him with the same vigor and determination saying those who are found in similar situation ought to be dealt with, and I will help you in other provinces to deal with them as we take a cue from Limpopo. We still have a man found guilty in Nelson Mandela Metro, who's still hanging in there regardless. So it is very difficult to give some credence to what is being said, given what is unfolding and the attempt at trying to unite. And I heard some people say, Jacob Zuma and himself said, the party for me comes first. But with Ramaphosa, he doesn't say it. But his conduct suggests to me the party for him comes first. And then I hear somebody at the back of my mind saying, yes, indeed, it is not a Zuma problem. It is easy to fault him, but it is an ANC problem. And I submit, indeed, it is not an ANC, it is an ANC problem. And Ramaphosa alone, he won't resolve the problems. He has the potential to do better, but unfortunately belongs to Ram Party. And it is his party that is going to fail him, including the tripartite alliance.
Well, is this a wonderful gift to the opposition? I'm thinking they could even put up Nomvula, Mokonyane, Malusi, Gigaba's faces on their posters and enforce an anti-ANC campaign.
You see, if people indeed were honest and were driven by public spirit and are public spirited, they would make life easy also for Ramaphosa. As he talks about Tumamina, to say, I am not worthy, dear President, to be part of your team for now. Let me go out and cleanse myself, maybe after 5 years and I come in. And for the love of my party and for the love of my country, I'm stepping aside. Do they really have to be forced by the integrity community, by the processes of the ANC? Can't they just look within themselves, deep down, and find it within themselves to say, yes, I was once called upon, I did my best, but now I'm no longer worthy of that. Otherwise, make it easy for the opposition party, and let's see how far it goes. But I think they will get a seriously reduced majority at the risk of even going into a coalition.
Well, former President Jacob Zuma did reportedly decline nomination. Does that make things a little bit easier for the current president?
I think he's playing a long game, as they call it. This time, better outside than inside. And the strategy says have him inside rather than outside. He prefers to be outside. And I think his fight back strategy with whoever he's working with is gaining traction. And as a master chess player, you can see the moves that are being taken. And I looked at some developments in the past 3-4 days, and I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised to see Zwane in Parliament. I wouldn't be surprised to see the ATM growing stronger given what is going on. With the smaller alliances that they're going to make, they will have a present. And that is going to eat and to impact on the performance, the electoral performance and the outcome of the ANC.
All right, thank you very much indeed. That was political analyst Professor Lesiba Teffo.